There are some things you should just never say to a psych patient. Hey, what's up guys? It's me, the Psychiatry David C. In psych, some phrases can actually do more harm than you realize. Even if they have good intentions behind them, they can actually make patients feel really bad about themselves. So in this video, I'm going to go over some phrases I hear all the time that should not be said to patients and why they make me facepalm every time I hear them. Let's talk about it. Starting with the first phrase, just calm down. How many times have you been heated and then someone tells you to just calm down and it actually calms you down? Probably never, because by saying just calm down, you're minimizing their emotional distress. Like you're assuming the patient has control of their emotions at that moment. Like obviously, if they could just calm down by themselves, they would have done so already. A lot of times it actually just escalates agitation instead of reducing it. So yeah, definitely avoid saying the phrase just calm down to a psych patient because it's probably just gonna make things worse. And the next phrase you should never say is it's all in your head. So this one invalidates their lived experience. Like if a patient tells you they're feeling like sad, depressed, or even like hearing voices, and then you just say, it's all in your head, bro. That's gonna invalidate what they're feeling. It also reinforces the negative stigma around mental illness. Like mental illness already has enough of a bad stigma as it is. And then if you tell someone it's all in your head, that makes it even worse. Because then they're not gonna wanna tell you about what they're feeling or, possibly hearing in their heads anymore. It's gonna make them feel like ashamed of even having those symptoms. So they're not gonna wanna open up to you anymore after that. And then moving on to the next phrase, you don't look depressed, anxious, or psychotic. First of all, mental illness is not visible, so you can't see any of those things. Like just because you can see someone tearing up or crying, that doesn't mean they're depressed. And on the flip side of things, if you see someone who's happy and smiling all the time, that doesn't mean they're not depressed. So you don't know what someone's going through just by looking at them. This encourages masking symptoms as well. Like if a patient hears, well, you don't look depressed, then they're just gonna start, trying to hide everything that, makes them depressed, which is not good because then they're just gonna have all their emotions like bottled up inside, and it could potentially lead to like worse outcomes. This phrase also makes patients feel disbelieved. Like if they're telling you that they're like depressed or anxious and then you come back with, well, you don't look like you're depressed, the patient's just gonna feel like you don't believe them, which if you're saying that phrase, you probably don't believe them anyway. And this phrase is especially harmful for high functioning patients. So by saying that, you're kind of like encouraging them to keep doing the same thing. And then they'll be less likely to seek help afterwards. And then the next phrase you should never say is others have it worse. If you make a comparison like that, it shuts down their vulnerability. This is the classic, like, oh, well, there's a starving kid in Africa, so your problems aren't nearly as bad as theirs, so why are you complaining? Now, while it is probably true that that kid does have it worse, it just invalidates your patient's feelings. They're not going to want to open up to you anymore because you're just going to say, well, that kid has it worse, that patient has it worse, why are you complaining? We have to understand that pain isn't a competition. Just because someone else is possibly experiencing more pain than that patient, it doesn't mean that that patient's pain is invalid. And generally, you shouldn't be comparing patients to other patients anyway. And then the next phrase you should never say is, why didn't you just do this? Why didn't you just do that? Because honestly, by saying the word why, you make it sound really accusatory, even if you don't mean it. Like they're probably already used to living their entire lives not looking depressed, even though they are. It implies poor judgment or even laziness. Patients might already feel shame and you're gonna make them feel even more ashamed. Honestly, I trained myself to just stop using the word why in general. Like if a patient doesn't want to take their medications, I don't say, why aren't you taking your meds? I'll say something instead like, okay, so, what are your concerns regarding the medication? That's a really nicer way to ask for their reasoning why they don't want to take their meds. And it's going to make the patient want to open up more to you. And then moving on to the next phrase, you should never say, you're refusing. Now, this one makes me facepalm so much just because I think it's so bad to say to a patient. It sounds really judgmental and blaming. Going back to the previous example, if a patient isn't taking their meds and then you just go, okay, so you're refusing your meds. I mean, yeah, technically they are, but do you have to say it that way? They might just have concerns about side effects or something, which are really valid concerns. So instead of saying, oh, so you're refusing, you could say something like, okay, so, what are your concerns? It invites more honest and open conversations with your patients if you say it that way instead. And then the last thing we should never say to a psych patient is, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. How do you know that they're going to be fine? That's just premature reassurance. And it can feel really dismissive when someone is actually suffering. Like, imagine something happened to you and you're like venting out all your feelings to this person, and then they just go, you'll be fine. You're gonna feel like they didn't even listen to you and you just feel unheard. So instead of saying you'll be fine, definitely validate their emotions first, and then maybe try to reassure them after the fact. But just don't try to provide false reassurance first, because the patient's gonna feel like they're just being dismissed. So yeah, don't say the phrase, you'll be fine. And that wraps it up for the worst things you could say to a psych patient. I hear a lot of these phrases being said at my work to patients, and every time I'm just like, I want to know, have you had anyone say these kinds of phrases to you? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. I do videos on psych stuff twice a week. I am also on TikTok and Instagram if you want to follow me over there at the Psych MP David C. I do telehealth medication management for adults living in California. If you're interested in booking with me, there's a link down below. And with that, your mental health just leveled up. You're welcome.